Have you ever wondered how people do those grand displays of cards like in the movies? As it turns out, this isn't part of dealing or magic. There's an entire subset of card tricks just like that fall all under one hobby, cardistry. In this video, I want to show you my journey from knowing nothing about cardistry, not even being able to do a riffle shuffle, and now being able to do tricks that the average person would look at and go, holy shit. Today, we're gonna dive deep into this unique skill. I'm gonna give some quick background on it, then show you how I started, how long it took to learn, and finally rate my experience and give you a recommendation on if you should learn the skill yourself. Without further ado, let's get started. So where did cardistry come from? It was first used by magicians to display sleight of hand and do intricate flourishes in between their card tricks. In 1992, a magician named Chris Kenner published an instructional book called Totally Out of Control, which contained some of the very first flourishes that cardistry enthusiasts regularly use in the modern day. There were a number of other books and instructional tapes released in the late 90s and early 2000s that grew cardistry even further, with the term officially being coined in 2006 by Richard Z. So where do we begin? It all started 4 months ago with one Instagram reel. I've been busy trying to get moderately average in every single skill possible. Cards. The very first thing that I wanted to do was learn how to do the riffle shuffle and then the bridge that came right after it. And I have to tell you, it was really difficult at first because I was not dexterous. I didn't know what to do with my hands when I was touching the cards. But in just under an hour of total practice, I was able to get my first bridge. I then started practicing more and more different ways to do it. One-handed, off my finger, nose. Now, this isn't technically a cardistry move, but this was the foundational move that I needed in order to take my first step into the cardistry world. But the next trick that followed seemed absolutely impossible: the card spring. The card spring is the foundational trick that is seen in a lot of those casino scenes and movies, and in actuality, it is quite simple. Even I can do it. But for a beginner, it is incredibly difficult because of the constant pressure that you have to exert with your hands. Oh my God, bro. You see, what nobody told me is that when you're first starting out cardistry, you're basically training new muscles in your fingers. So every new trick that I was learning where I was doing a movement that I'd never done before, I could even feel my fingers shaking a bit after trying it for such a long time. Great. With a few days of continued practice, I was finally able to land the move. From there, things started to pick up pretty quickly. I learned the Pharaoh Shuffle, which is a move that is arguably the most foundational cardistry move ever. Learning the Pharaoh Shuffle is like making an iron pickaxe in Minecraft, bro. It just opens up so many doors. And with the Pharaoh Shuffle under my belt, the world of cardistry was now my oyster. At this point, I know you must be wondering, how far did you actually get? Let me show you. I actually caught that. What? Now there are 3 amazing tricks I learned that I want to call out in particular. Remember that cool display of cards I showed you in the intro? That is a cardistry move called the Bloom. The Bloom was created by Zach Muller in 2014, and it starts with, you guessed it, a Pharaoh Shuffle.
Technically, it really starts with a move called the anti-Pharaoh Shuffle, but the most reliable way for a beginner to learn the move is by starting with the Pharaoh Shuffle.
This honestly might be my favorite move I've learned so far because of how visually impressive it is and how unique the learning process was compared to any other trick I had learned so far. The Bloom is all about maintaining the correct level of pressure in your fingertips as you begin to split apart the 2 packets you're holding. And this one took a while. I had packets falling out on both ends. I dropped the entire deck several times. But when I finally got it, the payoff was huge. Look at that, baby! We finally got it! The next trick that I learned that I want to explicitly call out is the Sybil cut. When I think cardistry, I think about the Sybil. This is a foundational move. When I saw how fast people were doing this cut at first, I thought this move would be genuinely impossible for me to learn. When you're faced with a task that you think is impossible, the best thing to do is approach it in piecemeal. I watched several tutorials and tried to break up the learning process into chunks. I would start with the opening movement and keep doing the opening movement until I felt like I nailed it, and then progress into the next stage. Weeks went by, and before I knew it, I was actually nailing it. And I am so glad that I can close out this series having learned this trick, because it's just so cool. Now, there's one last card trick that I want to call out in particular for one reason and one reason only. I think I accidentally invented it. One day, I was messing around trying different ways to do the bridge. I was pharaohing my cards together, and then I figured out something special. Now, I honestly didn't believe that this was a new move at first. I reached out to a cardistry creator that I follow and I asked him if it was legit, and he said that he hadn't seen it before. And so he helped me brainstorm a name for this new move, the flutter. The reasoning for this is simple. The setup position for the shuffle kind of has you tilt the cards in this reverse heart formation, which you then bend together, and the sound that comes out sounds a little bit like the heart is fluttering. I'm still sure that it's not even true. Like, there's gotta be a way that this was discovered before. But in the meantime, I will claim the title of this so-called new move, and hopefully people can develop on it further and do some cool tricks with it. And with that, we've covered all 4 months of my cardistry progress. But before I end off this video, there's a few things I want to cover. Starting off with the cardistry community. This is a super cool community. There's a cardistry con every year that people go to and meet up and show each other the moves that they have learned. And another thing that I didn't expect is highlight reels on YouTube, where multiple cardistry creators will meet up and show their different lines of card tricks. As someone who's skateboarded for 2 years, I see a lot of similarities between the cardistry community and the skateboarding community, especially in those highlight reels. They're filmed almost just like skate parts. Another thing that I did not anticipate when picking up this hobby is how many decks of cards I would soon begin to accumulate. I have the one bicycle deck that I initially got, and I thought that would be enough. And when I started watching videos from cardistry creators who have like 30 different decks, I was like, wait, this is so stupid. What are you guys doing? But now I completely get it. There's different conditions of cards, and having multiple decks of cards at different levels of condition makes it easier to perform certain tricks. Maybe, for example, your older deck of cards is more sticky and the cards don't move around as much, but it is more flexible and bendy, so it's easier to do a spring. On the contrary, a newer deck of cards that moves around a lot more is easier to fan. There's card decks that people have made specifically for cardistry. You'll pop them open and the cards will just have 2 sides. They won't even be suited. And now for some closing thoughts about the hobby and how you can pick it up yourself. This is a very easy hobby to pick up equipment-wise. You go to your nearest store and you buy a deck of bicycle playing cards. And from there, you can go off and learn anything. There's a lot of very cool things that as a beginner, you won't even be able to fathom at first. But if you're interested, path to learning them is usually one tutorial away. Basically, this is an incredibly deep, low cost and low barrier to entry hobby that practically anybody can pick up as long as they have at least one hand and can do amazing things with it. Seriously, this hobby has been amazing. It has helped me personally in a lot of ways. I'm very fidgety. I used to pick at my skin a lot, and after picking up this hobby, my hands look a lot better now because instead of doing that, I am practicing card tricks. If I had to rate my experience of learning this hobby out of 10, I would give it a 9. As for what's next on the hobby maxing journey, I will be learning Minecraft speedrunning, so make sure to subscribe if you want to follow along. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Let me know in the comments what hobby I should pick up next.